Why being needed feels better than being loved. Have you ever noticed something strange? You feel uncomfortable when someone simply loves you. But when someone needs you, depends on you, comes to you with a problem only you can solve, something inside you feels calm, useful, important, maybe even worthy. And without realizing it, you begin building your relationships around being needed rather than being known. But why does being needed often feel safer than being loved? And what happens when your value becomes tied to what you do for people instead of who you are? Being loved sounds simple, at least in theory. You imagine someone seeing you completely and choosing to stay. But for many people, that kind of love feels surprisingly uncomfortable because love is uncertain. It asks you to believe that you matter, even when you're not performing, even when you're tired, even when you have nothing useful to offer. And that can feel terrifying. So instead, you become useful. You become the friend everyone calls during a crisis, the person who always listens, the one who remembers birthdays, the one who fixes problems, the reliable one, the strong one, the helper. At first, this seems healthy. People appreciate you. They trust you. They need you. But over time, something subtle begins to happen. Your identity starts merging with your usefulness. You stop asking, do they love me? And start asking, am I helping enough? You stop wondering whether you're valued and start wondering whether you're still necessary. This creates a hidden fear, because if your worth comes from being needed, what happens when nobody needs you? What happens when people heal, move on, become independent? Why can that sometimes feel more painful than rejection itself? The answer lies in how the brain learns where safety comes from. Here's what is important to understand. This pattern is not a character flaw. It is usually an adaptation, a solution your mind created long ago. Behavioral psychology shows that humans repeat behaviors that create safety, connection, or emotional reward. If usefulness repeatedly led to acceptance, your brain learned a simple lesson. Helping keeps me connected. And eventually, helping is why people keep me around. The problem is not that you care about people. The problem is when caring becomes the only way you know how to receive love. Because then, love stops feeling like something you receive. It becomes something you earn. And those are very different experiences. But how exactly does the brain make this connection? To understand that, imagine a house with an unusual foundation. Imagine your self-worth as a house. Most people assume the house is built on love. But for many people, the foundation was built on usefulness instead. Every time you solved a problem, received praise for being responsible, or felt appreciated only when contributing, another brick was added. Eventually, the brain created a shortcut. Not love equals safety, usefulness equals safety. This is where neuroscience becomes interesting. The brain constantly predicts outcomes. It creates mental maps about what leads to connection and what leads to rejection. Psychologists call these internal working models. They're like invisible blueprints. If your blueprint says, people stay when I help them, then your nervous system starts trusting usefulness more than affection. Because usefulness feels predictable. Love doesn't. Love requires vulnerability. Usefulness requires performance. One feels uncertain. The other feels controllable. And the brain loves control. Think of it like a vending machine. You put effort in, you receive appreciation back. The exchange feels clear. Love doesn't work that way. You can't guarantee it. You can't manage it. You can't earn enough of it to make it permanent. And that's exactly why some people unconsciously avoid it. Not because they don't want love, but because genuine love asks them to exist without proving their worth first. And for a nervous system trained to perform, that can feel deeply unfamiliar. If this pattern was learned, can it also be unlearned? The answer is yes. But not by forcing yourself to stop helping. The change happens somewhere deeper. The first step is awareness. Before helping someone, pause briefly and ask, if they didn't appreciate this, would I still want to do it? This question reveals something important. Behavioral psychology shows that many actions contain hidden rewards. Sometimes the reward isn't helping, it's feeling needed. When you notice this, you're not judging yourself. You're simply becoming conscious of the emotional exchange happening underneath the behavior. For example, a friend asks for advice. You spend 2 hours helping. Later, they ignore your suggestions. You feel unexpectedly hurt. The pain isn't about the advice. It's about the invisible expectation attached to it. Many people automatically move into problem-solving mode, not because others need solutions, but because solutions feel safer than connection. Research on relationships consistently shows that emotional presence often creates stronger bonds than advice. Listen longer than feels comfortable. Resist solving immediately. Simply stay with them. Your brain learns a new lesson. Connection can happen without performance. And over time, that lesson becomes powerful. This sounds strange, but it matters. People who build identity around usefulness often try to prevent every conflict, mistake, or inconvenience. The nervous system believes if I stop managing everything, I'll lose connection. So experiment with something small. Reply later. Say no once. Let someone solve their own problem. At first, anxiety may appear. That's normal. Your brain is testing an old belief. When relationships survive these moments, the nervous system updates its map. Safety no longer depends entirely on usefulness. Think about a child. A child has value before accomplishing anything. Before producing, before helping, before succeeding. Yet many adults unknowingly abandon this principle when judging themselves. At first, the answer may feel unclear. That's okay. The goal is not immediate certainty. The goal is rebuilding a connection with identity beyond usefulness. This may be the hardest step because receiving feels vulnerable. Helping gives control. Receiving requires trust. When someone offers support, accept it. When someone compliments you, pause before dismissing it. When someone wants to be there for you, let them. Every small moment teaches the brain something new. You can be cared for without earning it first, and that lesson slowly changes everything. At its core, this entire pattern can be understood through one simple image. Imagine carrying a lantern. For years, you've pointed that lantern outward toward everyone else, helping, fixing, supporting, guiding. The light has always been useful, but eventually you forget something. The lantern was never meant to illuminate only other people. It was also meant to illuminate you. Because relationships are healthiest when love flows in both directions. You are looking to feel secure. And somewhere along the way, your brain learned that usefulness was the safest path to connection. But safety and love are not the same thing. One asks you to perform. The other asks you to exist. And perhaps the deepest form of healing is realizing that your value does not disappear when your usefulness does, because the people who truly care about you are not attached only to what you provide. They are attached to who you are, even on the days when you have nothing to give, even on the days when you need help yourself. And maybe that's worth sitting with tonight. Not the question of who needs you, but the quieter question, trying to earn your place.